You're listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV Network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Rickety Johnson.
From the AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and Bing.com, and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies, this is AFTERBUZZ TV's Bar Rescue After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AFTERBUZZ TV's Bar Rescue.
So bad at
Show.
I'm so bad at clapping on beat. I don't know. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Bing is for doing, and it's season 3, episode 18 of Bar Rescue, called "A Bar Full of Bull." And much like the Pirates episode, this was about a family. I'm done. I'm done.
Damn it.
Sorry, everybody. For those of you who are fans of AfterBuzz, know that reference and know that we always reference the Pirates episode as a barometer for everything. And I wanted to break the record at 1 minute and 20 seconds. Anyway, I'm back.
You're back.
Joined by Dorinda Barker.
Hi, guys.
Hello. I love this episode.
I did too. It was a... This one really got to me, I have to be honest with, but we'll get into it. But it was a great, great episode. And the family, it was quite interesting. And to watch the recon on this one was
Well, that was the most amazing part of it. Was this was about a father and his kids, and then right off the bat with the cousin, and I made an inappropriate joke before I knew what had happened to him, and that's what happened to him, and then I felt really terrible about myself. And it was just, the father, he just really wanted John's help, and I like that. After the slew of episodes we've had where, guests have called and like, yeah, I showed John I'm like, what did you show? Your bar's out of business. But this guy wanted the help, and he wanted to keep his family together, and so... Really, really sweet episode. And
he is the American dream. He is the American story. Off the boat, from the old country, and all he believes in, work hard, and it pays off. And that's what he wanted. And he spent his whole retirement, basically, on this bar for his kids, because he thought he would make his money back. And they were making a lot of money. It was
they were very successful.
Well, it was the first bar in New Bedford that was the first bar in New Bedford. So it was making money hand over fist, and it was doing well.
And the food was excellent. I mean, how many times did we go in? Like, the drinks were bad, the food was bad, et cetera, et cetera. And, it seemed like a really fun place at the time.
At the time. And what John did, which was so interesting this episode, is had the father, Barry, as in the car with him. And that was the first time we've ever seen an owner with John watching the recon happen.
And it made so much sense, and it was all the more powerful because of it. And it's interesting because while John was obviously picking up on the mistakes, it was great to see this guy see them too. And so that way he could kind of be almost an in-between, between John and the family to say, hey, these are the things that you guys are doing wrong. You just are.
And a lot of times when you are family and you are that close bond with each other, you don't really see the truth. Mm-hmm. The truth is in front of you, but you don't see it because of the fact is you overlook it because you love them so much. And he actually got to see it and to see what was going on. And
the toughest part was too, when they had the downstairs, which pretty much the downstairs was just the kitchen. And to see that emptiness there, and later on when they do visit it, to say like, hey, I'm scared to actually turn this thing on. Well, that was you could understand why.
Yeah, it was shocking, and you see this great kitchen with a wood burning oven, and then you here, we'll talk about the recon. We're watching the whole recon. So we see Eddie pour a shot
out of his boot.
It's, by the way, might be one of the grossest things I've ever seen on Bar Rescue or ever, because you know that he's been walking in those stank shoes for hours and going to be walking in those stank shoes for more hours. Disgusting.
You know what's awesome?
Thank you, Marissa.
He probably belonged to a frat.
Oh, I'm sure he did.
Because
and
that
he
was,
liked to drink.
You know how many times that's part of initiation is like, you got to drink this beer out of a boot.
I mean, I've seen guys like drink a goldfish and stuff like that. I probably shouldn't have said that out loud.
But again, frat mentality should not be applied to a bar.
No, it shouldn't, unless you're a college bar, and even then, it shouldn't be
that
way.
Because think about it. It's overpouring. It's binge drinking. Like there's so many everything. That's what makes a successful bar. Take all the mentality of a frat and reverse it.
But here's the thing. They were overpouring. Every single one of them overpouring. Even like the Blue Hawaiian was green because she had put too much whiskey in it. And on top of it, they thought that that's what was going to bring the customer back. Where, hence, that does not bring the customer back, number one. You okay with
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. And does not bring them back. Will not get them to buy a second drink. And third of all, you're not thinking of your bosses in the place that you work at, because God forbid if someone gets into a car and drives off and gets a DUI because of the overpour that you gave them, because let's say they get 2 drinks there or even 3 drinks. It's the equivalent of probably 5. And so they're going to get in trouble, and the bar will get in trouble, and their license could be taken away, and the bartender themselves can get in even more trouble. It's just really crazy what can go down by over-serving a guest.
I never even looked at it that way because, obviously there's a difference when a customer's asking for that much alcohol, but let's say, you're trying to pace your night and you only have 1 drink, but let's say you overpour, there's an overpour, and that's the equivalent of 3 drinks. You get a DUI because of that, but you paced yourself. Yeah, that's...
Yeah, and some people might not know. Whatever the case may be, it just annoyed me. And I knew if they were overpouring, at some point, they were just giving drinks away, too, if they wanted to make money.
Yeah.
Per se. And then...
I love John's quote on that, by the way. This isn't part of the recon. This happened later, but it was great okay, I can walk into a bank and ask for money. Doesn't mean they're going to give it to me.
That was awesome.
That was a great comeback.
I wish I had that one. I would have said that all these years. There's so many things I used to do when people would say, I want more alcohol in this. And it was like, I was in a frozen drink. Here's the thing, people. Frozen drinks made with lots of ice and sweet. You're not supposed to taste the alcohol. I would pour liquor down the straw, and then they're like, "Oh, this is great." It would be like a drop, and they're like, "This is awesome." Okay, great. I was an awful bartender. Now
there you
the
go.
secret's out.
Tips of the trade.
Well, it is, because you don't want to overserve somebody, number one, and you're wasting money when it says when people say, not it, but when people say, oh, I need more alcohol. It just annoys me. And then when we got into watching the kitchen, looking at that kitchen, that beautiful kitchen, it was so sad. The story, and even Barry telling the story, it just shook me up, because when something that tragic happens, it's very hard for people to move on. And I can understand why they didn't want to go into that kitchen anymore.
Yeah.
I don't know how I would be if that was a family member of mine and he started our business and he's the reason why it is the way it is, and we can't go on from there. And I think John did an amazing job of helping with that situation.
I think so too, but one of the aspects that I loved about, this area in particular was the fact that, they said, okay, the income is around 30,000, right, which is about 20,000 less than the national average, and so people are going to be very selective of how they spend their money.
Yes.
And and so you got to really draw them in, and obviously this was a big, seller for them initially. and it still needed to be.
And and that's the other thing, and it's true. Someone goes into a bar, right? You're gonna have, like me. I go into a bar. I'm gonna have a drink, except for the Woods. I love that place, but a lot of times I walk out of there not knowing my name. But it's true. 1 drink or 5, you never know. But you go into a place, and I know, especially if I'm driving, I want to have something to eat to go with that drink, because I'm not gonna go crazy. And a lot of people will stay longer and order another drink if they're eating.
Yeah, because they got to wash it down.
They got to wash it down. And 1 drink, most of the time, you start off with a drink, you have that drink for a few minutes, then you order food. The price of the check goes up immensely. You make more money. Well, there's a novel idea.
I know, crazy.
I know, crazy. Who would think about something like that? But I understood why they didn't have the food and why they weren't doing that.
But let's talk about the friends.
Okay.
Because,
Let's talk about the friends.
how many times, we can trust these people, they're our friends, blah, blah, and it starts off innocent in that nature, and it just turns into everyone just taking it. Okay, they're not really trustworthy if they're just like, yeah, whatever, we don't care, we'll do what we want.
Well, let's talk about how the friends got called out on the pour test. How ticked off was I at the pour test? I would have rather... See, this is the problem about people and lying and getting caught, and because they want to tell the truth to show that they know what they're doing. If you're overpouring, pretend that you overpour all the time. Don't on the pour test get it on point, because I got to get it on point because John Tavern's going to get mad if I'm going to get it on point. No, he's going to get more mad because now you're showing me you're stealing. Yeah. That's what you're doing. You're stealing. And every single one of them, even Eddie, who likes to drink out of his shoe, he got it right. And I was watching it because I was counting and I was watching their pours, and I actually thought one of them was going to go over a little bit, but they didn't, and it annoyed me even more. And it made me upset for Jessica and Dave, because they really just, it was just sad, because you would think at that moment that they would get angry at their friends. Nope. Not at all, because even when they were talking, they got everybody together, and they were saying, oh, we have a problem with Shannon. Eddie's like, I have a problem with Shannon. She's not, Jessica's like, I keep her because she knows the drinks, and she's a good bartender. And John's like, how is she a good bartender if she's overpouring? And John keeps going and keeps going with her, and she's still defending her friend. Yeah. And he's still not getting it. And John's like, is this about you and your business, or is this about your friends? He's like, stick up for yourself. It's time to stick up for yourself. And she was not getting it. And Dave wasn't really saying anything either. Dave wasn't saying, he didn't really say much.
No, he was not.
Yeah. And then and so they're going into all of that. Then they go into my favorite. I love when John brings it out. Bevantel.
Yes.
Bevantel's always my favorite. So, and here's the thing. Eddie, on a Friday night, their sales, $1,618, I can't say it, $1,618. There you go. In the sales. $721 given away. That's almost 50%. That's about 45. Mm-hmm. Shannon, Saturday night, $1,515, $976 given away. That's your friend. That's your roommate. That's the person that you trust. That's the person you're sticking up for. Still, nothing.
Nothing. I mean,
nothing.
We're losing.
Look at
we're losing $4,000 a month. We could save.
Look, yeah. 98,000. I have it written down. If people aren't watching, they're listening right now. 98,000 a year, 8,000 a month that they're losing. Ridiculous. And you need to wake up when you see it. If I saw a number like that, I would have fired everybody on the spot. And I don't care if you're my father. I would have fired you. Because you know why? This is $100,000.
She didn't even, when, what was the term that John asked? Like, hey, can you tell me about your drink expenses? And she was like, wait, do you mean on an individual basis or?
7 years? How are you running a business? And by the way, Jessica, this is not anything to go off on you on, but a little bit. and I'm sure you know this all now, but like with P&L, she didn't know what P&L was. It's your business. It's your livelihood. You are losing so much money by not knowing your liquor costs at all, your inventory at all. How did you even make money to begin with? Well, because you.
I think and I think that's the biggest problem. A lot of times, there seems to be a pattern. I don't know how true it is, but okay, the bar opens up and it's doing well. That seems to be the case with all of these, and then it goes downhill. And it's like, okay, well, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But the problem is then they never end up fixing anything, and so it just continues to get more broke.
Well,
Pardon the pun.
It's true. And we see that there's a reason why people wind up on Bar Rescue. It's not because they're flourishing. It's because they're malnourished, I guess you could say. It is true. They're in their business and they're not taking care of the business that they're supposed to. And even when they asked her about the business, she goes, well, I knew a little bit about liquor, so I started this business. And Dave got into it because that's his sister and he loves his sister, and I love that part of it. And the father got into it because it's his children. He wanted to make sure they had something, to have a life, which is wonderful and beautiful. There's just certain things that you just need to know to have a prosperous business. And she always looks so sad, which got me this whole episode. It broke my heart to watch how she didn't have a smile on her face for 3/4 of this episode. And neither did Dave. I think they were all still stuck. That's what it was. Stuck in that moment. So with John coming in and really doing everything he did so much for him. And they go into the stress test.
Yes.
Let's talk about the stress test.
Let's do it. I mean, I love when they bring out the games and the 3 stickers and you're out. I mean,
that's not.
For me it was like, okay, 3, is that too little? But then I understood it because they actually should know how to do this. Yeah. So they're not like rookies that we've seen in the past episodes of where they're just absolutely atrocious. I forget our girl's name, but remember she was all stickered out.
Oh yeah. Oh, what was her name? That sweet girl. I can't remember her name, but she was sweet.
She was. She was
nice, but I mean, Eddie, who was having a hard time with Shannon, who had the attitude. Meanwhile, Shannon's blowing him out of the water, amazed by her skills, by the way. Amazed by her skills. Did you see how many drinks she had up and just going? I was like, that's my girl. That's the kind of bartending I like to see. Especially, they didn't have the glassware they needed.
No.
That was some people had glasses, other people had plastic glasses, and they were just washing things as they went. And that is so hard. I've worked in a bar like that before, and it's so hard, and it's more stressful than anything else. And they're just throwing, it is just crazy to me how they were doing this. And then
we're going to solve an AfterBuzz problem.
We'll solve it.
Because, well, Kevin, I hope you're listening to this. Kevin loves his big mugs. But the problem is I don't have room for them in the dishwasher. I don't have room for them in the cabinets. Can't we just get smaller mugs?
Like the black ones?
Yeah, the black ones are thin.
The black ones are perfect. Those are nice too. They're dainty. They're sophisticated.
I like the small ones.
It's so.
You like the small?
Because then
now
Kevin's
you know Kevin's gonna call us right now.
No, you better. Let's call Kevin and decide. For those of you listening, if you don't care about this, we'll be off the subject in 10 seconds. But he loves his big mugs like this big, and you put it, and for those of you listening, it's about think of a small soccer ball.
Yeah.
And I put that in the dishwasher, and there goes an 1/8 of my dishwasher. Whereas opposed to the other ones, I put 100 in them.
And you're fine. You still have room.
Anyway, just AfterBuzz, solving AfterBuzz problems
with Bar Rescue.
That's right.
But so we had all this going on and all this happening. Eddie gets tagged out. Boom, Eddie's gone. Moses steps up. Moses is doing a fantastic job. He's fantastic. John's talking to. Oh no, that happens later. That happens later. So they go into this whole. They go. Even the stress test wasn't that bad though with these guys. Overall, except for Eddie, I thought overall, and then they didn't.
Just the owners didn't really do anything.
No, they didn't.
They were just again. I think you described it well, unintentionally perhaps, but they were just stuck, and it's just even during the stress, they were just like stuck. They didn't know what to do.
No, okay. And before we even go further, we did not bring it up, and we have to bring it up. That podunk bowl, it creaked. Unless that was like Bar Rescue's like After Effects, which it could be to add a little bit more. But I have a feeling no. And they were doing the bull, and why would you have a bull in a fishing town?
Because it's a novelty like the Pirates. In a corporate facility.
20,000 he paid for that bull. How many people do you think that bull got $20,000 worth of rides?
No.
I
don't even think it's like a cool thing. Like there's the Saddle Ranch here and and people kind of go.
I've been on that thing.
I don't know. It's just not that exciting to me.
And I bruised my thighs. It was awful.
But
if you could see my G-string, it's awful, people. Don't do it.
But like these sort of gimmicks, I mean, it's like last episode they had the punching bag. And I looked at it and I was like, for me it was a matter of like, okay, it just seems stupid. But John, I love that John just outright hated it because of the violence involved.
Yeah, and then there was no reason for it. And even when they worked it, it didn't even work right. They had two girls on it. It wasn't even doing the shimmying like it should have did.
I mean, not that there were people there, but it just, to me, it just took up too much space.
Yeah, and I thought, and this is something I thought about, I don't know if you thought about it, I was like, do you know how many tables or like another bar or like something that could have been in there making money? See, John Taffer, you have worn off on all of us because now we watch your show and go, we can make money there. We can make money there. Because it wasn't making any money, and that was just extra added space.
My problem with the show is now I go into bars and I'm like, I don't want to be. Ooh, ticket time is through the roof on this one. Let's get out of here.
Like it's time to go.
Yeah, not a good bar.
Party's over. But it's true. So that is our stress test, which wasn't. We've had some worse. Like last week's was worse. The stress test. So they go into different things. Then John brings them after the stress test the next day, brings them into the kitchen and has it cleaned. Clean, new appliances, new stuff. What
I like about this, I mean, and it's great that we had Peter O'Connor last episode and this episode. Yes. Whereas most of the time that we've seen these people, most of them don't know what they're doing because they've never been taught.
Yes. These
guys, the fact, again, with the pores, the fact that they know all this stuff and the stress test wasn't too stressful, it's really just kind of kicking them in the ass and saying, hey, what are you guys doing? You guys know how to do this.
Yes.
You guys are just lazy.
Lazy, and then...
complacent.
Yeah.
And want to take advantage of your friends. So
exactly.
Let's say it how it is.
Yeah. And he brings them down. The kitchen looks amazing. And
I like how our guy got he was like, I went to culinary school.
I
give him a shot.
Guy. And then there was the other guy, too. I can't remember the bald-headed guy's name. I'm so sorry. But he really, he had the two guys.
Yeah.
And you had the chef come in and teach him pizza and how to do all these great things in memory of Lenny. And the picture of Lenny in the kitchen. And that was the first time I saw the two of them even crack a little bit of a smile.
Yeah.
And it meant a lot to me for that because all that stuff that they have had and, will go through for almost ever. But this was probably the first time they were in there and it actually felt lighter, if that made sense. So it was a good... I love that part. That was my favorite part of the episode. And so they they go into renovations.
Yes, they do.
And I love the way they renovated it.
Yeah.
This was up there, probably one of my top 10s, probably closer to the lower, probably like
So
9
like the
or
9
10.
or 8.
Like a 9-ish.
Not
I
your
would
best
say
work,
like
Sean.
Oh no, I've seen worse. But like, sorry, John.
We're joking.
But
At least
I
I am.
loved it. I loved it. No, I love. Well, it's top 10. They've done so many, but you walked in and you felt like you were like in a fisherman's place, but yet an upscale, or like even a cool like seafood restaurant that's on the water.
But it didn't feel corporate. Like I hate, there's so
No.
many of the, like in Boston especially, at least for me, you go to the harbor and there's so many
Like
of
legal
like
seafood.
Long John Silver. Like come on, and I hate that. I just, it needs its own personality, and I like that.
And it did, and I loved what they did. I loved the bar. Like they just refinished it, if I'm correct, because it looked like the same bar as it was before, and it was great. I loved everything about it. I loved that it was now Labad's Tavern, Seaside Tavern, because it makes sense if it's on the water. New Bedford's one of the oldest shipping
Stations, towns.
sites. Yeah.
We're really naval here.
Yeah, my dad's gonna kill me. But hi, Dad. He listens every week, by the way, and he tells me that I told him he needs to call in because my dad will call me with information after the show. He'll be like, "You need to say this." I was like, "The show's already over, Dad."
He can rate and comment on iTunes, on
There you
YouTube,
go.
on the website, much like you fans that have been doing so already.
Thank you so much. We love it.
So please continue to do that. And most importantly, spread the word. I mean, Bar Rescue is the #1 show on Spike. By you spreading the word to your friends, obviously it helps our after show, but then it also in turn helps the show because most people won't listen to the after show without watching the show.
Exactly.
So it's like this hand washes this hand, and we just keep washing hands.
Yeah, and the show is
And then we have clean hands.
And we have very
John will
clean
like
hands.
that.
Yes. Okay, and then they got rid of the bull,
That's right.
and then they brought Moby Dick in. I had to bring that in.
Literally, I kind of sensed something like that because, early on through the editing, they were saying, like, John was like, this was a town. It was inspired
New
by Moby.
Bedford was
Moby
mentioned
Dick.
in Moby Dick.
Yeah, so it's like, okay, there's going to be a play there.
Yeah, but it made sense to put, if you're going to have something that people are going to ride on, it might as well be a big whale instead of a big bull. Because it doesn't make sense. Because this place was a fishing town.
It would be fun if you fell in water.
That would be awesome.
John,
It would
let's
be
do
like,
it.
stay on for your life, because if not, kids, you're going in the water. Gonna need a bigger boat. I don't know. I wanted to say that.
Yeah, that would have been fun. That would have been fun. Obviously, a lot of legal issues there, but
Yeah, a lot of you. But I just
a
think...
water park could definitely do it. So anyway.
Sorry. But I like that they changed it. I mean, if you were going to use that space and you're still going to keep something going like that, at least go with the theme of the restaurant. It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So now we go into opening night. Da, da, da.
Our boy gets fired.
Oh,
Just couldn't handle it.
Eddie.
No one gets fired on the last night. You either get
No.
fired right up front, somewhere during the stress test, a little bit after the stress test, or you just don't show up for the renovation.
Or you get fired by the owner of the renovation.
There you go.
At the reveal. At the
yeah,
reveal.
Yeah, that's Paul.
Yeah, Brandon. But you go
Classic.
in, they do the whole thing, and poor Eddie gets fired. John's like, hit the bricks. And he leaves, and he actually comes back and says, I need this job. What can I do to keep my job? And he honestly steps up and becomes an amazing food runner and, like, really helping out. Then you're like, why is this guy? And we saw this in last week's episode with Jameson. He gets so nervous. Do you think he was nervous because, like, Peter was there and John was there and all of that stuff? Do you think he couldn't handle it because, like, the cameras were there? I have a hard time to believe if you can pour right and you can do all these other things that once it gets busy, you lose it.
It could be a lot. I mean, it could be I mean, he could be internalizing stress because of all those different things. And you know what? He might. I think his biggest fear is he doesn't want to be found out for what he did in the past, and he's being exposed on TV. I mean, I know that we don't. You know, they don't talk about it on the show, but if you break down the fourth wall, okay, like I'm being exposed here as a fraud and an asshole in many ways.
That is true, but I give him so much props and credit and everything for him to buck up and say, listen, I need this job, and really helped out, because the kitchen, since it was the first night of the kitchen, they were making all this great food, and then the first table of the night orders the whole menu. Hi there, I'm just going to order the whole menu, and I'm going to screw everyone else behind me. I just don't understand. I mean, I understand it, but they got it out, and I gave those guys credit in the kitchen because that was the first time they were doing it.
Yeah.
So, excuse me. And the food came out great, and people loved the food when it did come out, and it was a little behind schedule. But you know what? If that being the first night, it happens in any restaurant, no matter how good it is. The first night, first week, you're working out your kinks. So it's totally fine that it was the first night and things were running behind. It always happens. But he really picked up, and he was really doing what he had to do. And everyone else pulled together. You know, you saw Jessica and Dave really smiling and enjoying their job. Yeah. And it was the first time you saw them enjoy themselves, enjoy what was going on, taking it all in. And to me, that made me so happy to watch them do all that.
Yeah. So on that note, we have some fun stuff to talk about. It's bonus stuff, so you know, obviously we've kind of wrapped the episode. Let us know your thoughts and opinions. Again, go to iTunes, go to YouTube, go to our website, all those different places, and of course, download Adventures of Serial Buddies. It's a amazing comedy produced by Kevin Onegaro and Maria Menounos. Dexter Meets Dumb and Dumber is how it's best reviewed by AMC's critic. Anyway. So let's talk. There's a parody. You discuss this. Again, this is the bonus stuff. So if we go off the wall,
exactly.
You know,
so
be a little bit looser with your reviews this week.
If anybody follows John Taffer on Facebook, you would have already seen it, or if you follow me on Facebook, astronaut Mike Dexter wrote an article about John Taffer rescues the Baltimore Orioles. May I stress, he did not do this. It is a parody. I've already had someone say, it's a parody. I know. So it goes on, and it's hysterical because the way you read it, it has Michael Tips in it.
Give the opening. That's my favorite of it.
The opening is amazing. It goes, every year, dozens of baseball teams nationwide fail to make the playoffs. If something isn't done soon, the Baltimore Orioles become just another statistic. Under new management, the Orioles reached great levels of success in 2012, but a recent cold streak leaves them just 6 short weeks from closing their doors for good for the 2013 season. Doesn't it sound just like the opening?
Sounds exactly like the opening.
And then it goes on, and goes on. John Taffer from an SUV in Lot BC. Picture it, people, because I did. Laughing out loud in a Starbucks, and people thought I was crazy. And he goes, all right, there they are, the Orioles. I've had cameras following them around for weeks. You know I love my Yelp reviews. Let's see what these people have to say about this team. The closer sucks, and the manager does things that don't make any sense. The starting pitchers are inconsistent and tired early in the games. The offense is good, but can't get on the same page. And it just keeps going on, and it's hysterical. And he goes, expert consultant. You can't run a team like that, John. Everyone needs to pull their weight for things to go smoothly. Totally. I'm reading this whole thing, and it's hysterical. And he goes, I think I've seen enough. I'm going in. And he goes into the whole thing. And Taffer goes, hello, my name is John Taffer. I've rescued over 800 baseball teams in my career. For the next few days, you guys are going to work for me. And I'm like, Buck Showalter, how did you get in here?
Nice.
And it just keeps going, and you need to read it on John's page or my page. But it's one of the funniest things I've read in a long time. And so, Mike Dexter, kudos to you, hysterical, and I loved it. And obviously, you are a fan of Bar Rescue.
John, I want to do a parody here at AfterBuzz TV. I mean, I've got the little quirks of everyone here. I have a way to do it. Where it would be a parody. It wouldn't really anyway.
I think that would be his. I think it would be great. And do we really just have 2 more episodes left this season?
Well, we're gonna get 20 more on episode 4, season 4.
Thank you, Marissa, because I was about to tear up.
It's all right. We're filming now.
Yes.
So I told Dorinda I'd talk about my night with Russell Davis.
Yes.
The expert.
I'm so
mixologist.
excited about it. I love Russell Davis, by the way. I'm a huge fan.
So Dorinda set this up for me, because I was gonna up to Napa. So I was like, someone's up there, and I was like, Russell Davis is in San Francisco. So so Dorinda got us all dialed in, and he's like, I'm opening up a nightclub. You should join. I'm like, yes, of course. He's like, what's your ETA? I'm like, well, I'm just gonna lie and say 3.5 hours. Even though it's closer to like 5.5. And then I jetted up there and got there in 5 hours. Anyway, so I came in at like 1:15, just in time.
Dude,
just
1:15.
1:15 a.m. I got there. Well, by the time, I wish I wanted to leave early, but there was no possible time. Like, I left as soon as I could. Anyway, so, I texted him when I got there, and he's showing me around, and he's telling me all these great stories, and what I took away from it were 2 huge things. A, we always joke about how, whenever we have the experts on the line, how even they feel fearful of messing up for John.
Yeah.
But in many ways, they're almost taken aback when they do get a compliment from John. Russell was telling me, like, there'd be moments when he's like, oh, good job, Russell. And then, like, he'd wait for John to get out of there, and then he'd be like, yes! Yes! I did it!
I got the man to like me.
Yeah, and it was great to kind of see that, and just his actual appreciation of John and the things he takes away, and then actually, I took away 3 things. I'll say this, and so there was the amazing nightclub upstairs, which was the mixologist behind there. She's like the #1 female mixologist in the country.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she was fantastic.
What was her name?
But I actually, when I walked in, because I didn't want to be a shy guy, I ordered, drinks, and, she made it, and so and I was like, oh, she's good. So I was like, I'll tip her a little bit more.
There you go. See? There you go, people. If you do your job great, especially if you're in the tipping industry, you'll get tipped more.
There you go. Then I got introduced to her later. I was like, oh, and she was like, oh, I served you, and I was like, yes, you did. But just
what a way to pick up a chick there,
okay,
Phil.
so yes, of course. So okay, the top is the nightclub, right? And it was opening, and it was amazing. And then downstairs, he said it was about 3 weeks from opening, right?
Okay.
And just seeing him kind of explain it and eyeball everything and the way it was going to be, there's a different passion. There's a different level of passion there.
Yeah.
For me, I'm looking at it, I'm like, okay, this is exciting, but you find way too much excitement in this. And again, I can't, obviously that's amazing.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to understand, how do you get to that point? Because for me, I don't have, for that type of, that area, I don't do it. I don't understand it.
Well,
and that's why I'm always amazed when you and Chris, I want to get the team back together, because you guys have such passion for this and the way you explain it. I don't.
Yeah,
Not
we
that
love
I don't
it.
Yeah,
we truly, truly love it. And, even though I have moved on in a different career path, and, so has Chris Lee, we still, to this day, have such a love for this business.
I have an appreciation for what everyone does.
Yeah.
And I respect it that much. And that's why I tip my hat off to you guys, because I don't get it. I could not do.
Understand. I mean,
I could not do that.
For hours try to concoct new drinks and think what would go good with things and what wouldn't go good with things. But it's it's a love that you have for things and being creative. And that's the other thing, because Russell also is or was an actor. And so he has that creativity, and it's something about putting things together and making something out of nothing. I can't wait to go up there because we talked, and I can't wait to go up there and see the place. And I think that's opening up October 1st. I think he said something about October 1st. I could be totally wrong, but that's what I think I heard him say. And I'm excited for him because he's such a good guy. If you ever meet him,
and here's the thing: the way he manages his employees, he's like, you know what? There's no point in being an asshole.
No.
And I took that away, and just seeing him actually give direction to his staff and the way they're motivated, and you know the bouncers there, and he's like, God, we had a great night. You know, and they're high-fiving and all that, and that was great to see. And so on that note, that wraps up this episode, A Bar Full of Bull.
Thank you, guys.
You can, of course, find Lula Cherry Films at Lula Cherry Films. Isn't that amazing?
On Twitter.
On Twitter. No Instagram?
Oh, I am on Instagram, by the way, at Dorinda B1, the number 1.
All right, because she's number 1.
That's right.
And, of course, follow us here at AfterBuzz TV. That's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all the same thing. Thank you, Marissa, for engineering. Thank you, John Taffer, for... I hope we make you proud. That's the biggest thing.
I know. I'm always afraid that John Taffer one day is going to call us and say, what is your problem, people?
John, we love you. We love the show. And, of course, you fans do as well. And so we'll be here for the final 2 episodes. Do we have an episode next week because of Labor Day?
I think we have to.
We'll find out.
Yeah,
we'll find out. If there isn't,
know.
we won't be here. If there is, we will be here, of course. So see you next week.
From Bing.com, executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.